Hiya, this week's booktube is this. It's about this, the Kim Stanley Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. I was looking at the screen there, and I hate it when people only look at the screen. So as usual, I'll try to give, I don't know, some points that I like about it and maybe some points that I don't like about it. I'm going to hold it up again, and I'll tell you what, I would like a... I'm going to do 3 points that I really like about it, and then maybe 1 point that I don't like about it so much. Published in 2015, this book follows a generational ship on its journey to Tau Ceti. The main protagonist, I guess, is probably the daughter of the main technician of the generational ship, which is referred to as Ship. And then the main character that comes out as the book progresses is the AI, which runs the ship. I won't talk anything more about the plot because it's quite good. So, you know, I don't want to give you any spoilers other than to say that when they get there, things don't quite go to as planned, but of course nothing ever does, right? And that's how stories are made. And that there's all kinds of political turmoil and all sorts of things happen. It's very interesting. I think I should say 3 things that I really liked about it. So the first thing is that it has amazing science language. The first thing that I thought was that when I read it was that Kim Stanley Robinson, before I did the research, is some kind of scientist or has a background in NASA. Turns out that's not true. His background is in literature. Actually, what had happened is he's written quite a lot of sci-fi. If you look up his name, you'll find that he's won quite a lot of awards. He's a very accomplished sci-fi writer, but that he has regular contact with NASA, so when he has a question then he asks it, but he obviously has a very big mind because he's able to hold all of this stuff into one thing and make it sound plausible. My second point is that it's really well written, and I can't emphasize that enough, because I read a lot of different books. You can see behind me, I mean, there's everything from Stephen King to John Updike here, or Charles Dickens. I read a bit of Balzac in between. So I read a lot of different types of authors and lots of different types of literatures. And I have I would say, a reasonably developed sense of what good prose looks like. And I would say that Kim Stanley Robinson's prose is good. I would say that it's up to literature standard, which is a lot more that could be said for the vast majority of science fiction that's ever been written. So sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, it's good. And the characters are good. I would go so far as to say, I've said this before about another book, probably in another video, I'd go so far as to say this is a piece of literature as opposed to a piece of genre fiction. My third thing that I like about this book is that it's really, really well paced. And what I mean by that is that it takes place over a very long period of time, over a period of, I don't know, say 250 years or so. But because of the way that it's structured, there's a really great moment in it when the ship and the crew are in dire straits, and it doesn't look as though they're gonna survive. But the ship comes up with a plan. So as the ship is going through the plan, I actually realised that my heart was beating really fast. That I was actually nervous as I was reading it. It managed to move me, I think, is probably the best way to do it, best way to put it. And I think that a lot of that is to do with the way that the book is paced. So of course there are some slow bits. He doesn't necessarily fall foul of giving too larger info dumps or lacing too much info into the sentences, etc. It's just really nicely put together. It's a real quality item. Lastly, the thing that I don't like about it, really, I mean, it's not really that much of a point, and anybody who's watching this might be a bit irritated by this point, but I'm going to say it anyway. Almost everything I read or watch is bleak these days, and I tell you what, the political situation, both in the United Kingdom and if you're watching this in the United States, is also bleak, and it's kind of bleak around the world actually at the moment. There isn't a whole lot of hope going around. It's become a bit of a commodity. So I really like reading things which have hope, which have some kind of idea of a bright future for all of us. Although there is an ending which doesn't see total destruction to everybody, I just think that it doesn't have a terribly positive view on maybe the implications of stellar travel for human beings on a generational ship, I mean, it's kind of real in that sense. It's pragmatic. I don't know. Maybe I just want a little bit less pragmatism and a bit more dreaming, I guess. If you disagree with that, I mean, write something in the comments. I'm open. I'm always ready to be wrong. So because this is no longer a book vlog, it's now a puzzle writer read. So I'm going to finish with the words of Kim Stanley Robinson from Aurora. This is from a section roughly 2/3 of the way through the book. It doesn't contain any spoilers, but I think what it does is it really expresses the complexity of the language and how intricate the story is. The council and everyone else agreed with Freya on the matter. It was the common wisdom, but they were beginning to suffer problems none of them had seen before. The oldest person aboard was 78 years old, median age was 32. None of them had seen all that much in their short lives, and the complex of problems that Aram called zoo devolution was new to them, if not in the abstract, then in the lived experience. As teams continued to inspect the ship, they found that some of the bacteria living around weld points and in the gaps and cracks between walls and components were eating away at the physical substrates of the ship. The corrosion was not chemical, but biochemical. As they investigated further, they found that all of the ship's walls, windows, framing, gears and glues had been altered by bacteria, first chemically and then physically and mechanically, in that their function was becoming impaired. Protozoa and amoeba, bacteria and archaea were found on the gaskets around windows and locked doors, also on the components of spacesuits, and in the cable insulation and in the interior panels and chips of the electrical systems, including the computers. Electrical components were often warm and there was moisture in the air. They were finding microorganisms that lived on and degraded carbon steel, even stainless steel, and anywhere two different kinds of materials met, the microbial life living in the meeting points of these materials created galvanic circuits, which over time corroded both materials. Pitted metal, etched glass, eaten, digested and excreted plastics. Everything had stiffened and disintegrated right in place, without moving except under the forces of centrifugal rotation of the ship and the pressure of ship's acceleration. Little creatures numbering in the quadrillions or quintillions, it was impossible to get a good estimate, much less a real count. All grew and ate and died and were born and grew again and ate again. They were eating the ship. Life is part of the necessary matrix of life, so the ship had to be alive. And so the ship was getting eaten, which meant that in some respects, the ship was sick. Thank you for watching.